From zero to fluent, mastering English skills, step by step. Hello, everybody. How are you all? I hope you're doing great. Welcome back to another session of Learning English with me. In this lesson, we are going to focus on improving our English skills. Not only speaking, but overall English skills. The complete English experience. I've been getting a lot of requests from people asking, where should I start? You might understand English, but speaking it is difficult. You want to start that journey, but you're not able to find the right path. So today, we are going to discuss how to become fluent in English, from zero to fluent. Are you all ready for this? Before we begin, please subscribe to the channel so that you can get all the lessons that I post for you here. Please like the video and share it with your friends too. Now coming back to today's lesson, how to go from zero to fluent. If you're somewhere around zero, how do you get to that level of fluency? This is going to be helpful for everyone out there, whether you're at an intermediate level or just above the beginner level. This will be helpful for you. Now let's begin. First of all, let's try to understand what this zero level is that we all are discussing. You might think zero is basically nothing, but that's just in your mind. You're not truly at zero. If you were at zero, it would mean you cannot understand English at all. If you can understand English, you're somewhere above that level. Consider yourself to be at number 2 or number 3, right? We have to get to 10, and 10 is fluent. You are somewhere at number 2 or number 3. If you can understand English, it means you can listen to that particular language, and you're listening to my video. That's a big deal. Listening to and understanding a language is a big deal. Now, if I start speaking in Spanish, you won't be able to understand because you don't know that particular language. Knowing a language counts. You have to take this into consideration. Half of your work is already done. That is basically your base. Now, what we have to do is take this base of understanding the language and build fluency over it. We'll be building fluency over this base of understanding the language. There are going to be certain steps that I'm going to tell you, so let's begin. What is step number 1 in becoming fluent in English? Step number 1 of becoming fluent in English is survival English. If you're starting from a beginning level, you have to focus on survival English. I think everyone must focus on survival English. That is a must if you want to become fluent in English. What is survival English? Basically, survival English is a component of spoken English. We never use survival English in written English because we need proper structures to write. However, when we are speaking English, we can sometimes miss out on the structures and just speak the meaningful parts of a sentence so that we can make the other person understand what we're trying to say. Imagine if you are in an English-speaking country and no one understands your native language. You might not be able to form a proper sentence because you aren't sure about the grammar structure and all that. What would you do? How would you try to speak? You might speak some kind of broken language, right? You might say certain meaningful words. For example, if you're feeling hungry and want to find a restaurant, what would you do? You might approach a native person and say, food, hungry, restaurant. These 3 words would make a connection in their mind. As soon as I say, food, hungry, restaurant, the person would understand that you're feeling hungry and want directions to a restaurant. They would tell you, or maybe even drop you off at a restaurant. When you get there, You can place an order by calling out the names of the food items and asking about the price. The person would tell you the price. These are meaningful words. They carry specific meanings. They can be nouns or verbs. These meaningful words help you communicate what you want to say. That's survival vocabulary. That's survival English. Grammar structures like is, am, are, and structures like does, do, did, have, had, these are not a part of survival English. No, survival English means the vocabulary, the meaningful words that you need to get your message across. If you're able to do that, that's your survival English. It's the basic English, the minimum English you must know to survive for a single day in an English-speaking country or environment. That's your survival English. Survival English is very important because once you know it, you gain the confidence to speak English. Now, you can start speaking English. Since we're talking about speaking, it's time to discuss step number 2. Step number 2 to becoming fluent in English is to start speaking from day 1. Start speaking from day 1. This is something I've discussed with you repeatedly throughout my videos. I even have a dedicated video on this topic. Start speaking from day 1. Why is it important to start speaking from day 1? The more you delay speaking English, the more you'll hesitate. If you start speaking from day 1, whatever you are learning, the vocabulary, maybe the grammar structure, any component of English, you'll be able to use it in your speaking. The end goal is to speak. We're talking about becoming fluent in English, which means you want to become a fluent English speaker. Speaking is a skill that comes with practice. If you don't start speaking from day 1, it's going to affect the way you speak. A lot of times people think, let's improve our vocabulary first. Let's practice some more grammar rules. Let's listen for a month at least, and then we'll speak. No! Everything must go hand in hand. Speaking on one side and everything else in English on the other, and both must go side by side. That is something you're supposed to do. Start speaking from day 1. It's very important so that you can practice these mouth muscles, practice speaking in English, and eventually become fluent. Through this practice over time, you'll become fluent. You cannot achieve fluency in one single day. For example, let's say I'm watching cooking videos repeatedly, looking at recipes again and again, reading them, and one day I decide to prepare something. Would I be able to make something perfect on my first attempt? Obviously not. It wouldn't come out perfect. This is similar to what a lot of people think. We'll practice vocabulary for a month, then grammar for another month, reading for another month, and then we'll start speaking. By that time, we'll be really good at grammar, know a lot of words, and our English will be perfect. This won't happen. The steps and the process will still be there. So, day 1 of speaking should be day 1 of learning English, of your learning journey. Start speaking from day 1 to become fluent in English. Step number 3 is also very important. Good English input. What does this mean? Language learning often requires a model where we receive information and then produce it. How do you learn your native language? By listening to that particular language a lot, and then reading it when you go to school. When kids go to school, they read the language a lot. By listening and reading, we are taking an input in a language, and through speaking and writing, we produce the output. To produce good output, in other words, to speak fluent English, we first need to listen to the language a lot. Listening is very important. It's the most important factor, the most important form of input, even more important than reading. Why? Because you're listening to good models of pronunciation, how a sound is made, how it's produced, how a sentence is spoken, the rhythm, and the intonation. You listen to good models of speaking, which is crucial. Where do you get these models? From movies, songs, web series, TV series, and YouTube channels that are in English. All these resources act as your listening resources. Additionally, you can listen to a lot of academically curated content, especially designed for English language learners. So, you can listen to that too. Good models of listening. You need listening resources. Listening is very important because when you listen to something, you can catch on to words, phrases, pronunciation, everything. When you listen to something repeatedly, it becomes a part of your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind stores it, and when you want to speak in English, you're able to retrieve that particular information because you know you've heard that word before. When you go to learn vocabulary, if you've listened to that particular word in context, you'll be able to learn it quickly, understand it better, and use it more effectively. Listening is crucial. You need to listen before you speak. Listening is important, so start listening today. A lot of people neglect it altogether. Listening is something that is extremely important. You need to listen to good English, a lot of good English. If you're already doing it, bravo! Whatever else you're doing to learn English will yield better results when you practice speaking because you're listening to good models of English. Your subconscious mind is picking up on words, phrases, pronunciation, everything. It's like you're creating an environment for yourself, a kind of English environment, a virtual environment, through listening to English. That is what we have to achieve. Start listening to good English input. Listening is very important. Now coming to the second form of input, reading. Reading is important too. You need to read because when you read, there is a kind of visualization of the words, spelling, everything that you're looking at. Reading complements listening. Both should go hand in hand. Which brings us to step number 4. Read and read out loud. Reading is very important because through reading, you visualize words, sentence structures, and grammar rules. When you listen to proper sentences, but they don't stay in your mind for too long, right? You might forget about them later, but when you're reading, you're visualizing it. Reading with your eyes means you can see the words on paper. They become a part of your memory. You're able to remember them better. Therefore, reading is very important. This brings us to another point. Read and read out loud. Reading out loud is important. When you're reading in your mind, you're focusing only on reading, not on speaking. When you read out loud, your mouth muscles practice speaking in English, which will help you achieve fluency. You'll be practicing English words, sentence structures, grammar rules, everything. Reading is something you should do. It's very important. Another important step, step number 5, is to learn basic grammar. You must learn basic grammar rules because they are going to help you in constructing sentences properly. I'm not saying you need to learn all the tenses, passive voice, clauses, everything in grammar. No, just basic grammar. It's important to know basic rules like how to make a sentence in the present tense, what happens if we use does or do, how do they help us make sentences in English? You need to understand that because it's important. Once you've mastered survival English, start learning grammar. You must know these rules. They will help you build good sentences in English. If you keep practicing basic grammar structures, you'll be able to improve your sentence construction. The sentences will get better and better as you go on practicing them. Finally, I would like to add a bonus step. Make sure you're practicing all 4 language skills simultaneously. You should practice LSRW, listening, speaking, reading, and writing. All 4 skills should go hand in hand because they complement each other. Listening improves your speaking. Reading improves your writing. When you write something, your reading skills improve. When you listen to something, your speaking skills improve. It all goes hand in hand. To conclude, the journey from zero to fluent in English is possible if you follow these steps. Start by focusing on survival English. Practice speaking from day 1. Ensure you have good English input, read and read out loud, and learn basic grammar rules. Along the way, practice all 4 language skills to reinforce your learning. By doing this consistently, you will build a solid foundation and gradually move towards fluency. That's it for today's lesson. I hope you found these steps helpful. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and I'm sure you will achieve fluency in English. I'll be back with another lesson soon. Take care and goodbye.